So today we're going to be working with dividing integers. Our essential question for today is the quotient of two integers positive, negative, or zero? And how can you tell? So we want to know what situations is going to give us a positive as our answer, a negative as an answer, or zero as an answer. So we can recognize those situations and be able to spot them whenever they arise. Our goals for today are going to be dividing integers and solving some real-life problems, including division. Now, when we're dividing integers with the same sign, we can say that the quotient, or the answer to our division problem, of two integers with the same sign is going to be positive. So just like multiplication, when we're dividing two integers with the same sign, either both positive or both negative, that is going to give us a positive answer. So when we have 8 divided by 2, positive 8 divided by positive 2, that's going to give us a positive 4 for our answer. Similarly, when we have negative 8 divided by negative 2, that's going to give us a positive 4 for our answer. So we can really understand this by using the same kind of a graph or graphic that we had yesterday. As we look at this, we can see that a positive divided by a positive is going to give us a positive, and a negative divided by a negative is also going to give us a positive. Similarly, when we're dividing integers with the same signs, we can say that the quotient, or the answer to that division problem, of two integers with different signs is going to be negative. Now, as we look at this, we can say positive 8 divided by negative 2 is going to give us a negative answer, a negative 4. And a negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative answer. So negative 8 divided by positive 2 is going to give us a negative 4. So again, just like our multiplying integers table we had yesterday, we have the same properties, okay? When we're dividing a positive by a positive, we get a positive. When we're dividing a negative by a negative, we get a positive. When we start looking at dividing negatives and positives together, what we can see is that a positive divided by a negative is going to give us a negative, and a negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative. So as we look at this, we're looking at dividing integers with the same sign. So we can look at this as negative 18 divided by negative 6. So negative 18 divided by negative 6, we can treat this like normal division. 18 divided by 6 is going to give me a 3. Now, because they have the same sign, they're both negative, that means that my answer is going to be positive. So I can know that 3 is the answer to negative 18 divided by negative 6. Similarly, as we look over here, we have negative 48 divided by negative 6. 48 divided by 6, the normal math problem right here, 48 divided by 6 is going to give us a positive 8. And since these are both got the same sign, we can say, oh, negative divided by negative is going to give me a positive. So that's going to give me positive 8 for my answer. Now, as we divide integers with different signs, what we can look at here is 75 divided by 25. Again, treat it like normal division. 75 divided by 25 is going to be 3. And then look back at our signs and say, oh, this is a positive divided by a negative. A positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative answer. So my answer here has got to be negative 3. Now, as we look at it in this situation, we have 84 divided by negative 4. So as we're looking at 84 divided by negative 4, what we can figure out is 4 goes into 8 2 times, 4 goes into 1 1 times, so it's going to be 21. But it's a positive divided by a negative, which means that we are going to have a negative answer right here, so our answer is going to be negative 21. Again, as we look at this, we have negative 54 divided by negative 6, not negative 6, negative 54 divided by positive 6. So as we look at this, we know 54 divided by 6 has got to be 9 because of our regular math facts, but then we have a negative divided by a positive, which means our answer is going to be negative 9. And finally, here we have a negative 39 divided by 3. So when we're looking at negative 39 divided by 3, we know 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 9 3 times, which means our answer is going to be 13. So 39 divided by 3 is 13, but we have a negative divided by a positive, which means our answer has got to be negative. So my answer is going to be negative 13. Okay, go ahead and try these ones on your own. Pause the video, and once you're done with that, go ahead and unpause the video to make sure you got the correct understanding for these and that your answers match mine. So as we look at this, we can look at each of these and say, okay, I have a positive divided by a positive, so my answer has to be positive. I have a negative divided by a negative, so my answer has to be positive. I have a negative divided by a negative, which means my answer has to be positive. I have 0 divided by some number, and we know 0 divided by any number is always going to be 0, and that's just a rule we remember from our regular math, okay? We can think of 0 cookies divided among 6 friends is going to still be 0 cookies among those 6 people. Okay. Now as we look at a negative divided by a positive, we can say that is going to give us a negative answer, and we have a positive divided by a negative, which means we're going to have a negative answer. So now we figured out the signs of all of our answers here, we can just go ahead and treat this like regular division. So 14 divided by 2 is going to give us 7, so my answer is positive 7. 32 divided by 4 is going to be 8, so my answer is going to be positive 8. 40 divided by 8 is going to be 5, so my answer is going to be positive 5. I have 49 divided by 7, which is 7, which means my answer is going to be negative 7. And it's negative 7 because it's a negative divided by a positive. They are different signs. Then on my last one here, I have 21 divided by 3, which is going to give me 7, and it's a negative 7 because they have different signs, positive divided by negative. So for our third example here, we're going to be evaluating an expression. So the expression we're going to be working with is going to be 10 minus x squared divided by y, when x is equal to 8 and when y is equal to negative 4. So we first want to copy down our expression. So we want to go 10 minus x squared divided by y. Now we understand that in this situation, x is going to be 8, and we know that y is going to be negative 4. So as we look at this, we need to replace these letters down here with their values that they're going to take on this time. So when we look at this, we can then say, oh, this is going to be 10 minus 8 squared, and then we can divide that by y, which takes on the value of negative 4. So as we look at this, we know by order of operations that we should start with our exponents first. So we have 10 minus 8 squared divided by negative 4. So with this 8 squared, that's going to be 8 times 8, which is 64. So we end up with 10 minus 64 divided by negative 4. Then by order of operations, we know that multiply and divide comes next. So the division what we have here is 64 divided by negative 4. So we look at 64 divided by negative 4, that's going to give us a negative 16. So we have 10 minus negative 16. And then because we have a minus a negative number here, that's going to be the same as addition. So we have 10 plus 16, which gives us 26 as our answer right here. So as an extra example for evaluating expressions, we're going to evaluate this expression right here. We have x minus 8 all divided by y squared. And we know that in this situation, x is going to have the value of 4 and y is going to have the value of 2. So again, we're going to replace our x's with 4s and our y's with 2s in this situation. So let's rewrite this using those new values. So we're going to have 4 minus 8 all over, and then 2 squared. And that's because our y is equal to 2 and our x is equal to 4. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we are doing our order of operations. So we can look at this and say, okay, this is 4 minus 8 all divided by 2 squared. Well, the exponent is where we're going to start. So 2 squared is going to be 4. So this is going to be equivalent to 4 minus 8 all over 4. Now, as we look at this, there's two ways that we can look at this. We can look at this as 4 minus 8 inside parentheses, and that's the one we're going to look at right now because we're taking this whole expression and we're dividing that whole expression by 4. So there's some invisible parentheses that we can add on here, and as we do that, we can say 4 minus 8 is going to become negative 4 all over 4. And we can say, okay, now that I have negative 4 divided by 4, that's going to give me an answer of negative 1. So go ahead and try these on your own. We're going to be evaluating these expressions when a is equal to negative 18 and b is going to be equal to negative 6. So go ahead and pause the video, and once you're done working these out on your own, go ahead and push play and make sure that you're getting the same answers that I am getting here. So as we look at this, we have for number 7, a divided by b. Well, a in this case is going to be negative 18, so it's negative 18 divided by b, and in this case b is going to be negative 6. So negative 18 divided by negative 6 is going to give us a positive number because it's a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, and 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. So that means our answer is going to be positive 3. For number 8, we have a plus 6 divided by 3. Well, in this case, we have a, which is negative 18. So we have negative 18 plus 6 all divided by 3. And again, because it's the whole expression right here, that we can actually include these parentheses, and we could say negative 18 plus 6 is going to become negative 12. And that negative 12 is all over 3. So negative 12 divided by 3 is going to be equal to 4. And we can say that it is going to be a negative 4 because it's a negative divided by a positive. On this last one here, we have 9. And so our expression for number 9 is going to be b squared divided by a plus 4. So we need to make sure that we're plugging in the numbers that we have for b and a. So that's going to be negative 6, and this is also in parentheses squared because this 2 goes to all of b, and b is negative 6, so we need to make sure we take this and raise it to the second power. It's going to be over a, which is negative 18. And we're going to add 4 to this. So again, using order of operations, we have negative 6 squared, which gives us negative 6 times by negative 6, which is positive 36. So 36 all over negative 18 plus 4. 36 divided by 18, order of operations, division comes next. So 36 divided by 18 is going to be 2. It's a positive divided by a negative, which means our answer is going to be negative. So negative 2 plus 4. And as we look at this, they are integers of different signs. So we can say this is just like 4 minus 2. So our answer is going to be positive 2. So let's look at our first real-life application example here, where we're going to be using some division in order to represent a situation that could happen. So our problem says that you measure the height of the tide using the support beams of a pier. Your measurements are shown in the picture below. Okay. Now, what is the mean hourly change in the height? So as we look at this, we have 59 inches at 2 p.m. and we have 8 inches at 8 p.m. So the way that we're going to be doing this is we're going to be setting up an equation. Now the equation that we're going to be using is that the mean hourly change is going to be equal to the final height minus the initial height over elapsed time. So our final height is going to be the height at which it ended at. So because 8 p.m. is after 2 p.m., that's going to be our final height. So that final height is going to be that 8 inches. Now it's going to be minusing our initial height, and the initial height is the height at which it started. So it's going to be starting at that 59 inches. And our elapsed time is going to be the time that it took. So as we're going from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., that means 6 hours have gone by, so our elapsed time will be 6 hours. So as we look at this, we can plug this into our situation here. We have 8 minus 59 divided by 6. So when we do this, we can look at this and say, oh yeah, this whole quantity is divided by 6, so we can do that first. 8 minus 59 is going to give us negative 51. So we have negative 51 divided by 6. And as we perform that division, we'll figure out that our division is going to be negative 8.5. So what we can say is our mean hourly change is going to be negative 8.5 inches each hour. So let's go ahead and look at our next real-life example where we can figure out some more about division and using our division with our integers. So the morning high tide at a beach is 57 inches. 6 hours later, the afternoon low tide is at 12 inches. What is the mean hourly change in the height? So we can think about our mean hourly change again. So let's talk about our mean hourly change. That's going to be equal to our final height minus our initial height, initial height all over our elapsed time. So at noon, right, 6 hours later, the afternoon low tide is going to be at 12 inches. So as we look at this, our final height is at 12, so we can replace that final with 12. And we're going to be subtracting our initial height, which is going to be that 57 inches. So 12 minus 57, and that's going to be over our elapsed time. Now, our elapsed time was 6 hours, because 6 hours later we took our measurement again, so it's going to be over 6. So 12 minus 57 is going to be the same as 12 plus negative 57. And as we look at that, that is going to end up being 45, I believe, right? 57 minus 12. That'd be a 5, that'd be a 4, so it'd be 45. Because we had more negatives than positives, it's going to be a negative 45. And that's going to be all over 6. Okay, now again, as we look at this, 6 is not going to go into 45 evenly. 6 goes into 42 evenly, and 6 goes into 48 evenly. So what we can do is we can divide this out using long division. So 6 goes into 45, 6 goes into 4 0 times, 6 goes into 45 7 times, so this would be 42, and this would bring down a 3. So we need to add a decimal place. Add that 0, bring that 0 down. 6 goes into 35 times, so our answer is going to be negative 7.5, and it's negative because it's a negative divided by a positive. So our mean hourly change is going to be this negative 7.5 inches. So go ahead and try this one on your own, and you can pause the video now. After you're done working this out on your own, go ahead and push play to make sure that you got the same answer that I did and that you understand why we get the answer that we get. So the height of the tide at the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick decreases 36 feet in 6 hours. What is the mean hourly change in the height? So here we don't have an initial height and we don't have a final height, but what we do have is that it decreased by 36 feet. So we can represent that decrease of 36 feet with a negative 36. Now over the elapsed time in this case would be the 6 hours that it changed. So we're taking this negative 36, we're dividing it by 6, and we're going to get an answer of negative 6. So what does this mean? Well, in the context of this situation, our mean hourly change is going to be negative 6. So that means over the course of 6 hours, every hour, the tide is going to be going down by 6 feet. And here we go with our mini assessment. Go ahead and work this out in your notes, and I'll be able to check this on Friday. So as we look at this, for problem number 1, we have negative 16 divided by negative 4. For number 2, we have negative 22 divided by 11. For problem number 3, we have 35 divided by negative 5. And for problem number 4, we have negative 36 divided by negative 6. And for problem number 5, it says, you play a video game for 15 minutes. You lose 75 points. What integer represents the mean change in points per minute? So what you need to figure out is the total change in your points over the elapsed time, and then you'll be able to tell me what the mean change in points per minute will be.